Hello guys, good morning and welcome to your Introduction to Writing lecture. So I'm going to discuss everything you need to know about the writing subtest, but in an overview, basic foundation of the ideas that you have to know before you take this examination somehow. So, what is the writing subtest anyway? Well, this is known to be the most difficult task of all for a variety of reasons. Number one, this is the last test in the written component of your examination, meaning right after you did the listening exam and the reading test, you will now do your writing examination, which requires you 1 hour to finish the examination. You have 2 tasks to complete, and this is the third subtests in the IELTS. So, there are also differences between whether you'll be taking this examination using a computer and the traditional pen and paper based examination. But the thing is, I just want you to remember that whenever you want to choose between the two, you have to also talk about your skills. You have to also know where are you good at. Like, are you a better typist or are you a better writer? So if you cannot type really fast, what I suggest is that you improve on your handwriting, because handwriting is also assessed in this examination. So 1, 2, 3, 1 hour to finish the test, 2 tasks to complete, and the third subtest in the IELTS. So I want you to remember that rule. So you will be assessed according to the 4 what we call criteria. Okay, so we have the task achievement for task 1 and task response for task 2. So altogether, they assess the completion of the report, whether you have accomplished the task within the time provided, which is 1 hour, finished 2 tasks, and whether you have provided the examiner with the adequate number of words required for you to finish it adequately, which is 150 for task 1 and 250 for task 2. Now, if you will not be able to write in accordance to that set standard, then definitely there will be penalties for your task achievement, which can no longer give you a score of no more than 5. So if you're not going to write more than 150 for task 1 or more than 250 for task 2, you will only get a score of 5 and a penalty of 1. Now, coherence and cohesion is all about the content and quality of your answers, whether they are relevant to the topic. So if ever you're asked to write about this particular idea, which I'm going to give you explanations about, then it would be the factor, okay, of the content and quality of your answers. And most people don't actually get these coherence and cohesion correctly. So from the basic foundation of CC, that has to do with paragraphing, with the connecting words, and the context behind each of those paragraphs, the meaning that they imply. So altogether, they work in accordance to your coherence and cohesion. So it's worth getting this right. Vocab and lexical resource, correct usage of words. Words must not be repetitive and redundant. So avoid repeating the same word in the same sentence, or perhaps if the previous sentence has the same word on your next sentence, then you have to consider asking yourself whether you know about synonyms and context. So sentence structure should be varied. So you will be shifting from simple sentence types to complex sentence types, and you have to make sure that they're accurate. Hence, the last criterion is called the grammatical range and accuracy, making sure that even though you have varied sentence types, you are accurately using them correctly. So yun nga yung word level and syntax sentence level. I discussed what syntax is in terms of semantics and syntactics last lesson natin, okay? So I want you to check the video na yon as well. The review guide. Okay, so nandun yan. I gave samples about how to use your syntax, semantics, and syntactics in the accuracy of your grammar, because most people already know how to construct sentences properly, but they don't know how to make their writing exam flow. So that is one of the challenges that you are going to face, definitely, and it's worth getting them right. So task 2, why am I starting with task 2, with essay writing? Well, it's because this is the one that you should do first. Why? Well, because task 2 carries 67 of your total writing score. So this carries more weight than your task 1. So meaning, you have to exert more effort for task 2. You have to allot longer time for task 2, because obviously writing task 2 will require your critical thinking skills, your memory recall, and different manners as to how you can explain situations in different cases of course, you're also going to provide examples. So you have to do this first because let's say you will not be able to finish the remaining task. Well, task 1 is just 33.3%, but still, we have to make sure that when you apply for the exam, when you apply, you're going to tell yourself, am I able to finish both my task 2 and task 1 in the prescribed number of minutes? So if task 2 wants you to write 40 minutes rather, then you should be finishing the task within this time compendium. So the formula in computing your writing band score is writing task 1 plus writing task 2. But before you add them, you multiply writing task 2 first by 2 before you even divide it by 3. That is why 67% of your total band score is awarded for task 2. So you a lot more effort to this. You do this first on the exam. So time allotment, spend 40 minutes, manage your time wisely. Planning is very essential. Expert writers spend more time planning and drafting than actually erasing and recomposition. So as much as possible, editing must only be 2 to 3 minutes. So if you know for yourself, you miss some important words, you know that you have some repetitions, no, let them go. Finish the task first and then do the editing last. In that way, you will minimize the instances of you erasing too much and changing the whole structure because totally the basic foundation of the idea that you want to imply will be crumbled. Okay, so outlining for 5 minutes, writing for 30 minutes, and then editing for 2 to 3 minutes. And what we call the proofreading part. Okay, so it's also part of your writing assessment. Now, planning. How do you plan for a writing task 2? So you determine the task prompt in which question it is about, because the task instruction, okay, determine the actual task instruction will be the one giving you the format based on which paragraphing, how many paragraphs, how do you arrange the ideas here. So you determine the task prompt, you determine the actual task instruction, and you have to use the proper format based on question. And afterwards, you do the writing, okay? Now, I want you to look at this, okay? We have 5 types of writing task 2 instructions. We have the do you agree or disagree? We have the to what extent do you agree or disagree? You have the do you think the advantage outweigh the disadvantages? The 3 of which are known to be the opinion type of your essay writing. So when you say opinion type, definitely your opinion would matter the most. Now, when you mention about your opinion, there's also a necessity for these opinions to be explained, for you to defend, expound, and provide examples to prove that your point is actually viable or believable. So, now, if you're looking at this slide, perhaps you will ask yourself, what the heck am I looking at? Like, what are these words? Bunch of words, okay? So, don't worry. Again, this is the introduction to writing. As I've mentioned, you have your 3 opinion types. You also have the open-ended and discussable views instructions. So altogether, they make 5 instructions. And the thing that I want to highlight is that if you look closely at the do you agree or disagree and the to what extent do you agree or disagree format, just by comparison, they are completely different, even though the words used are almost the same, almost exactly the same, except for the to what extent part. And that is what I'm going to discuss this coming Saturday. So if you guys have time, then please make it to a point to attend our lessons. Sir, what about me? I cannot come to class anymore because of the pandemic, because I cannot travel. So what suggestions can you make? Don't worry, guys. I will be linking the description of this video, which I have uploaded now. And it will give you the files. That is a 1-hour recording comparing your do you agree, disagree, to what extent, discuss both views, open-ended, do you think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. Now, just for clarification, this 1-hour audio recording is only meant to guide you as to how to do the paragraphing properly using examples. You don't have to take a screenshot of this slide anymore or this, because kasama na din dun sa link ng file yung PDF na to. So as you look at the PDF file of the format here, ito exactly, ito sila. You will listen to the audio because the audio will be the guidance as to how to do this properly. Okay? So once again, attending the lecture is a much more effective way in understanding each of these. Because I require 2 to 3 hours of discussion for each. So you have 5. So that's almost 12 to 15 hours of pure hardcore discussion. And I shrinked the discussion into a 1 hour, half opinion type and the open-ended type. So still, for me, it is so much better if you guys would attend the class. But for some people who will not be attending the lessons, I got you covered. Just click the link in the description and it will direct you to my Google Drive file together with the audio recording and the PDF. Okay? So that's the case. Now, for task 1, so we're done with task 2 because this is an introduction to writing. I also have to cover the task 1 part. For task 1 GT, your task is to write a letter, which is the easier type of task compared with your academic counterpart. So mas madali pong letter writing. So all you have to do is to familiarize yourself how to deal with formal and informal letter. So how often do formal letters appear in the exam? 70% time. Of the time, it's a formal letter, and then the remaining 30% could be informal. So if you have 4 tests in a month, probably meron kang around 3 formal letter writing na mag-a-appear. So if you would practice more for the formal writing. And then you have to finish it within 20 minutes because, again, you only have 1 hour to finish the test. So the most important thing for your task 1 GT is bullet points, because if you miss just 1 bullet point, you fail. That's how easy it is to waste money in the IELTS. You just have to miss 1 bullet point and then you fail. Again, you have to read the bullet points because the bullet points will give you a guide as to how to address what exactly are you required to cover in your letter. What are the things that you have to include in your discussion. So that's it. And of course, the tone and structure. So responsiveness, structure, and tone would be what we call the triumvirate of the GT letter writing. When you say triumvirate, it's the 3 heads that build up, that examiners assess. They look out for these, responsiveness, structure, and tone. So you have to consider them. Responsiveness, you have to answer the bullet points. If you miss one, you fail. Structure, composition, heading, greeting, introductory paragraph, the most important part, as I've mentioned previously in my class. You have your middle body paragraph, you have your action paragraph, you have your concluding paragraph, and then you do your salutation, okay, with respectfully yours, sincerely yours, and the like. So magkaiba ang salutation natin kapag formal and informal letter. Okay, next we have your academic task 1. So in academic task 1, your task here is to write a statistical report. So it has to sound statistical. Again, no opinions. It must be cold, hard, and unemotional. So static versus process. So I've mentioned GT, mas madalas lumabas si formal, pero dito kay academic, it's an even fight. It's either a process or it's a static. There could be a month, like for example, the month of October. Example lang ito, I'm not saying that this would happen. Pwedeng isang buong buwan, puro static lang. The following month, puro process lang. But if you get the total for the whole year, it would be 50-50. 50% chance of getting a static or getting a process. So sir, ano ba ang mga kasama dito kay static? Static writing, that has to do with numbers and figures, your line graph, bar graph, pie chart, table. And that's it, percentages and all. But your processes, maps, cycles, diagrams, comparisons of different images. So in total, there could be 8 possible types of writing tasks that you should make yourself familiar to. So there's already a huge gap between the difficulty level. GT, you just have to attend 1 task, that is your letter writing. But in academic, you have to attend 6. So I think for 2 months of religiously attending online lessons and going to the classroom, you'd be able to attend all of my writing task 1 lecture. Not to mention, you also have this common mistakes in writing task 1 only intended for academic people. So GT, you don't have this class. You only have this GT letter writing. So you don't have to attend that anymore. So you have to finish the task within 20 minutes as well. And task description, very important because it will give us idea how to paraphrase the introduction effectively. As you know, introduction is the most important part. The elements feature the what, who, where, and when. So always look out for your W's. Not all the time you will be seeing the W's on the task description. There could be times na nakahiwalay siya dun sa mismong task. So if there is a 1998 on the task image, for example, this is a map of Cabanatuan City for 1998, and then you failed to include it, okay, you missed it in your introduction, examiners would no longer consider you giving a score of 7. So they would even give you a 6 because that's a very important element that you missed to include in your introduction. So that's very critical that you enumerate first your W's, your what, who, where, and when, and then to paraphrase the task description. Altogether, it would make a better introduction. And then that is the format. Introduction definitely is the first part of your writing task. Then you have your general overview. I highlighted this general overview because you have to know that a general overview of a writing task 1 could vary. Now, I suggest that you put your general overview right after the introduction. Some examiners would prefer the general overview to come after the body or the specific details, but I highly recommend that you put the general overview after the introduction so as not to miss the summary and content. Examiners would look out for how you give the summary first versus how you provide the specific details. And in terms of comparison, that is how you can accurately describe the features of your task itself. So now, in your specific details, this must be a minimum of 2. Oh, my mistake. It's not 2 sentences, but 2 paragraphs. Okay, so erase, erase, erase. My mistake here. So this should be a minimum of 2 paragraphs. So your writing task 1, academic, either static or process, would not be 3 paragraphs lang. Ang minimum ay 4. Introduction, separate paragraph for general overview. Then you have your specific detail paragraph 1, specific detail paragraph 2, making it a total of 4. Then if you want, if you are going to take the exams in British Council, take note, this is only applicable for British Council test takers. You may or may not, okay, put a concluding paragraph. So why aren't you suggesting that we should have another paragraph for conclusion? Because there's a tendency kasi that, you know what, general overview and conclusion are the same thing. Okay? Some examiners just want both. Actually, 3 out of 35 active examiners in the Philippines want both concluding paragraph and general overview. But the thing is, this is quite risky, most especially if you are going to have the same content. Because what examiners hate than a task without summary is a task that has repetitive content. So bear with me. The safest path for your task 1 is to follow the introduction, general overview, specific details paragraph 1, specific details paragraph 2. Sir, can I have a specific detail paragraph 3? Yes, of course. For example, you will be doing a map. The map has 3 distinct features, like map of 1962, map of 1985, and then a map of the present time. So definitely you have your introduction, you have the overview of the overall. There are various changes in the map of Fountain and Meadowside as they merge together after the significant period indicated in the image. And then a separate paragraph for 1962, a paragraph for 1985, and another one for your present. So the thing is, that's how you do the paragraphing. Paragraphing is essential because, as I've mentioned, similar po ang task 1 and task 2 in terms of comparison between your coherence and cohesion, paragraphing, connecting devices, and discourse markers. So that will be the end of your introduction to writing. Again, I will be linking in the description below of this video as to refresh yourself with task 2. But the thing is, attending the lessons physically would be much more advisable, especially if you are struggling with the contents of your writing. So that will be the end of your lesson for today. Have a nice day, everyone. God bless and good luck on your exams. Bye.